Hello, everybody. Welcome to whatever this is. It's not the Wiggle. If you're in for the Wiggle, you're gonna be surprised. It's not the Wiggle. We're here. Let's give a quick hello. We got Circa, Altered Pants, Joseph Tavir, Bahudriger, Allen's here. Wild Martin. Martin hasn't been here in a while. Good to see you. Um, we're doing something different today. I was gonna do just a regular Wiggle, and then I realized I need to start checking off some boxes. So we're doing the one of the live streams that were hour and a half live streams that were bid off at the last auction. Let's see, which was the request was to do sort of an intersectional something for uh, keeping bugs, permaculture, yard stuff, all that good stuff. So I don't necessarily have a springing point. It's very similar to kind of a lot of the other stuff that I talk about as I speak. I'm trying to multitask. I guess it's part of that intersectional whatever intersectional yahoos is oh boy, today just a lot of cleaning I did today in general. My garage, I don't know if I've shown the garage ever, which I shouldn't because it's it's not bad by some people's garage standards, but by my standards it's fluctuates between being beautiful, pristine, uh, epitome / beacon of cleanliness for garages, and being a barn, but like a bad barn, barn but bad. And part of this is because it's a 2-car garage, but Dan, the man with no plan, who was the boyfriend or something of the woman who lived here, was building a man cave or something. Ignore the basement. Don't build the man cave in the basement. Build the man cave in the garage, apparently. And so there's a wall with a bunch of, what was it, 20-inch spacing studs in the garage. And they had some cabinets and some other stuff and a remnant granite slab on top of all that. So it's basically just looked like this solid immovable thing. Well, today, while going through and getting rid of stuff with my dad, who just left, um, noticed that the thing holding up the particle board cabinets, whatever, was just a couple of screws. So if I got rid of all that stuff, then we could just unscrew those cabinets and throw them out and work on getting rid of this wall in the garage, which I was told if I get rid of this wall in the garage, it will substantially help with the sale of the house. How does this have to do with bugs and permaculture, intersectional wahoo? Well, I have to keep stuff in there to start starting chicks, start chicks in the garage. I keep the guinea pigs in there over the winter. So this would be opening up a lot of space to just be able to throw stuff in amidst all this move stuff that's already going on. So we did that today. We started taking out all of that. Boy, my eyes are dry. Humidity dropped in here from 80 to 57%. It's pretty nuts. I opened the window. But anyways, so that's what we were doing is cleaning the garage, tossing a bunch of stuff, making it easier to get into and all that. The less stuff, the better. And so yeah, that's where I've been last couple hours. Hair's all messed up. I got all kinds of supplies and stuff thrown out on the back patio. I gotta blow out the garage. There's a bunch of trash I put out. My beloved father put out. So that's where I've been. I'm still kind of in that headspace too because I'm thinking the studs are nailed. They're not screwed. So I'm thinking tomorrow when I attack that, what am I gonna do? How do you get nails out of wood? I know you can just use a hammer at the end of a hammer to pull them out, but is there a tool for that? I'm sure there is, but one that I can get by tomorrow is another question. So boy, Chris, you really put me on the spot here. 5 minutes in, I don't even know what to talk about. It's funny, I can blabber on and on at the regular wiggle, but figuring out just exactly what I'm going to say at this is kind of tough. And we got a lot of viewers too, and I'm choking. Let's say hi to a couple more people. We got JoJo Bugs is here, Cyborg Medic, Circus here, Laura Taylor, Kevin Santiago, Hyperbeam, Exotic Wilderness, William Udesky, and Double Z. Grylidae per kilocal is also here. Welcome, welcome. So maybe I should pull up Chris's text, and that'll help me to figure out more of a direction for this. I think he just kind of wanted me to do my thing, but a little bit more focused. Let's see, what did he say? Cross section of vertebrate pets gardening and invertebrate care can complement one another. Okay, well, that's pretty easy. Well, for starters, there's all the waste you can produce raising lots of insects, and been finding out, I'm going to get an autoclave to really kill everything. I've been using heat sterilization and, where applicable, freezing to sanitize stuff, but you're just basically making potting soil. Anything you do with, if you're working with roaches or beetles or millipedes or whatever, the end result is just soil, and it's just loaded up with that good nutrients. Just the ratio of which varies, but it's pretty much good to go right as soon as you sterilize or whatever, so you don't introduce anything to the wilds. But all this stuff just kind of builds on each other. I'm trying to think of, for the future, some stuff that I'm thinking of. I mean, with vertebrates, there's I've sold bags of all my vertebrates hair, including my own, and thinking about trogody and stuff, and maybe just making a hair pile somewhere to see what colonizes it, what kinds of sawzalls. Double Z says the sawzall will get the nails out of there. I don't know if I want to damage the studs, though, because somebody could come and pick them up and use them, or I could use them. I just need something that'll pop them out, I guess. Definitely can get a tool for pulling nails out of the hardware store. Again, there's a lot going on right now. Part of this intersectional nonsense that I'm trying to figure out. But I mean, it's just the day-to-day life is all this stuff, refuse from one thing, extra bugs can go to chickens and ducks and all that. And for vertebrate care, again, it's just basically just talking about taking care of bugs some more. I'm trying to think if there's anything I should mention for future plans. I would like to get into I want to get some PVC enclosures for snakes. I think that's the way I want to go. I want to kind of limit myself to about 20 different enclosures of snakes, 2 by 2 by 4 foot, maybe 2 by 2 by 5, not sure yet. And I'm hoping somebody manufactures what's basically a solid state PVC enclosure with sliding or whatever front doors. And I'm trying to find that. If anybody has any experience with that? There's a bunch of manufacturers that have and will pop up on Google, but the problem is, with the search engine optimization and all this other stuff, I can't really tell what sites are good anymore. You go to like any of these sites off of Google and you think, oh, this looks like a good product, and they've got some supposedly real person reviews there. But then it's just like there's jumbles of text and all this stuff, and there's like 5 billion options, a lot of things out of stock, but in weird ways. The whole site might be out of stock of everything. And then it's like, does this company still exist and stuff like that? So I'm just I'm wondering, maybe I'll talk to Marty May, the next expo I go to, which will be in October. But yeah, to get in on the snakes and some vertebrates that I wanted to keep of that sort, and do kind of partial bioactives for things. I don't want to go over the top with the dripping rainforest, a billion different things in there necessarily, because you need a big cleanup crew and a very specific style to deal with something like a boa constrictor poop, stuff like that. Boa file is what William Udesky. Online shopping is actually impossible now. Satchel, I would love to hear more of a point about that, unless that was satire. Are you getting some beaded lizards? No, I will not be getting beaded lizards. I don't want anything that can harm me, even if it's a plop reptile like a beaded lizard. I think the biggest reptile I will commit to is probably considering committing to would be something like a dwarf caiman, something like that. Zen Monkey, que pasa? Zen Monkey, Chris, you're here. You're here for your intersectional live stream, and I'm flailing. I could talk for years on everything else, but now that I have to kind of hone that into some other sort of topic, I'm flailing a bit, but I'll figure it out. Satchel says even sites that used to be trustworthy have become garbage, and a lot have been taken over by drop shippers. Yeah, that's kind of how it is. And this is funny. We were talking about the intersectionality of all this other crap, but now I want to kind of talk about this, the drop shipping and the changes in online shopping and shopping in general, because this is all part of it. If you're spending all your money at the store, you don't have any money to spend on bugs or permaculture or any of that stuff. But really, just internalizing the last week, the monster that Amazon is, really, like, I'm sitting here, I'm working, and I think, oh crap, I need this thing. Like, I need this very specific type of thing. I need a glass water bottle for my softwares. This old water bottle's the seal broke. I need a new one. And then I think, well, I'll go to the pet store. And then I think, no, I won't go to the pet store because I've been there and I see the water bottles they have, and they're all plastic. And when they do have the metal base ones, they're too big. They won't fit my steps, etc. You can just go on Amazon, and I can see the exact product specifications. It can be at my place in like 36 hours. I don't have to drive. The shipping's free, and it's, Amazon is the new Sears Roebuck. Satchel talking about the proliferation of drop-shipped, low-quality products, even on sites like Amazon. Basically, the easiest scam to run is to make listings and drop-ship garbage off Temu or AliExpress. So that's another thing why it's kind of with the reptile cage thing. I kind of want to have a firm handshake, look them in the eye, and tell them what I need. But I gotta wait to do that, and it's a larger order, and I don't have the building yet, and blah blah blah. But it's like, man, do I hate being in holding patterns. I am a man of action. I decided to take down the wall in my garage today, and by God, it will happen within the next 48 hours. But other than that, I was just, again, with all this economics and viper boas. I do like viper boas, double Z. That could be something I could be persuaded to. Rubber boas I do like as well. I really need to kind of curb a little bit of that style of enthusiasm until the move. And don't get me started. I've been trying to get in contact with this land clearing / fencing company for them to send me proof of insurance for 2-ish weeks now. And I keep getting the runaround, and I've called like twice a week, and the boss has it on her desk, and blah blah blah. So if I don't get somewhere by next Monday or Tuesday, give me even a little bit of grace. The last time I pestered them like this, they got me an estimate by the end of the week. That last week I pestered twice and I got nothing. So if I can't just get them something to pass on to Angela's brother, so we can get this going, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I'm so worn out with this whole process, as is Angela. We're just done. I'm going over on Sunday to we took care of the master bedroom last Sunday. And this Sunday she's gonna come over tomorrow night to help me with the garage and just to see each other because it's been a week. Sunday I'm gonna go over there and we're going to finish the master bedroom, master bathroom, master closet, take out some stuff and just kind of gut everything. And then we're going to turn our attention on her bedroom there, which is not the master bedroom, but probably will be soon. And then there's a basement guest room, bedroom that we're going to work on, and then just keep working our way through the house and doing all this stuff. But it's how do people do this? How do people live? Like, I don't know. I just feel like where's the time for everything going? Is this? Am I getting older? Is this a common sentiment shared by everybody right now? Is everybody just feeling the squeeze on all ends for leisure time and all this stuff? I'll answer the bug pertinent question before I get back into this. Do you have rhino roaches in stock? So I think everything that I produce in 2024 is spoken for. I think there's 2 pairs I need to get out from the spring auction. There is a small to fair chance that there will be more within a month or so. So check in semi-frequently. You know where to find me. Zen Monkey says, have kids, everything else gets easier. That's funny. Age in technology, says William. That's the thing, is the technology, you can never get away. You know, last Saturday, I had a lovely break day with people, and it's like, I can see why in ye olden days, or maybe not even all that long ago, there were festivals and things that lasted multiple days, because you really can't settle into something just one day. I feel like you can't really settle into relaxation or whatever just one day. There's all the prep to it, then you do it, and then you got to clean up from it. But if you do something that lasts a couple days, you get to really settle in and appreciate. Where I was going with this is with technology. On Saturday, there was a period of time from maybe 6 or 7 p.m. to 10-ish p.m. where nobody looked at their phones. Nobody. We were sitting and chatting, sitting and eating, having a couple drinks. Went out, did a fire, just with the dogs, etc. Nobody looked at their phones for 3-4 hours. And when I finally went inside and I looked at the oven and I saw what time it was, I was just gobsmacked, because I could not believe that it was only 10 p.m. Like, it felt like it should be like midnight, 1. It felt like so much time has passed, and yet it didn't. And it's just perhaps this perspective of, you look at your phone, you see the time, you go here, you see the time, you got to do this, you set an alarm, you do that. It just really wrecks the living experience and your perception of time if you're always hyper aware of it. Yes, Double Z and Satchel, both of you. Your rhino roaches should be good to go pretty soon. John Doe says, better late than ever. Bring back Common Peasantry 2024. I mean, it very well could happen with the inflation. I don't know. I don't know about all this stuff. What this has to do with bugs and permaculture is permaculture is all this stuff costs money. Is the bottom line. We should all thank our lucky stars that at least for a lot of annual vegetable seeds, they're still cheap. I don't know how they've managed that. Maybe it won't last for very long. But permaculture done well is not an easy endeavor. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of supplies and a lot of knowledge to do things like that. And it is kind of helpful to be in my position with all this extra. Oh, I got bug dirt. Oh, I got rabbit dirt. Oh, I've got guinea pig dirt, all this stuff. Because it gives you precious organic matter and nitrogen that you would otherwise have to get from other places. And in addition to it just being free, you're also generating value in meat or things to sell or feeders or whatever in the form of the stuff that you're raising. So Double Z says, if I can time travel, I'll give a medieval peasant a Baja Blast, forever alter the course of history, giving a medieval peasant a Baja Blast. But yeah, with the economic situation, again, whoever gets in, whoever doesn't get in. I mean, federal politics has always been a shite show in a lot of ways, but I just don't know. We got a lot of things that the world is facing right now: declining birth rate. We've got the declining happiness. Maybe there's something to that. There's I feel like things are very disconnected now. Not as a disenfranchised old man, but it's everybody's kind of in their own bubbles and so involved with the technology and this and that, making ends meet, doing this, doing that thing. It's kind of hard to form more of a local community. And I guess as I say that, I have everybody here, which I'm very thankful for. This is a great space for talking. Of course, I would say if only this was in person. Now that would be something. And I think that would probably, again, I would say in general community, people, you outsource your community needs to online. And it's kind of like when they make synthetic drugs for certain hormones and stuff like that, where it will be very similar at a atomic level to what they're trying to recreate or whatever, whatever natural or whatever hormone or something you're taking. But there may be something off. There may be something that may interact in a different way because it's not the same molecule. It's missing some group on the end. They can't manufacture it to have certain properties of the natural or naturally occurring chemical. And so there's something just doesn't quite fit perfectly. There's still something missing, and that something missing ends up being very important in terms of human to human interactions with a lot of this stuff. Laura Taylor said, no matter how much we try to separate topics, they all affect the others. That's really how it is. They'll never taste anything the same again, says Chain about the Baja Blast to a medieval peasant. Lizard Beans is here with a cute but disturbing emoji face. Zen Monkey says, I'm hearing that Kyle is planning offering in-person class in the future. If I get freaking moved and we get everything set up and all this stuff just not perfect. It just has to be not all in my freaking house. I have strongly considered running a conference out of Roach Crossing. Make it a weekend or a couple days or something like that. But doing like the first semi-annual Roach Keepers conference or something, and probably give out some funded from an auction or something, tickets or boarding costs to a couple of keynote speakers or special guests that I would like to be present for such a thing to increase its value to the people attending. But I think that would be really fun, and it's definitely something up my alley in the future. I would attend Kyle's Animal Addiction Anonymous. Yeah, I think it would be really fun, and it's something I would like to do one day. And it's probably not for a while, but it's on the docket again. With more space and more resources, I things will only go up. It's just this holding pattern that's kind of annoying. Speaking of which, I've started making my, as you guys saw, Orang Mango purchased the Kabuto Mushi pair, and somebody else got the Sakinctus, the microwave destruction sale, because I've been making lots of substrate in the microwave. It hasn't really destroyed the old one, but old one. The old one, the one that came with this house, has been destroyed as of like February or something. I was just blasting substrate in there for a whole day, and it just couldn't take it, and it just died. So that one's dead. The new old one, which is the one that I currently have, is taking quite a beating, but I don't want to keep getting substrate all over the kitchen if I can help it. I'm trying to just mitigate that as best as I can, so I put the thing outside. I've been running it outside all day to sterilize batches of stuff. So I needed a new personal microwave, and I just needed whatever I can get. I haven't actually bought it yet. I went to Walmart and I completely forgot that I needed a new microwave. So I'll probably just need a small model that I can fit at least a bag of popcorn into. But even that, those things are like $50 now, even on sale. It's ridiculous. I mean, I guess it's not ridiculous. It's probably how much we were just living in a bubble where everything was so cheap for so long, and something like that is definitely more of a technological wonder than a bunch of plastic or something. Russ would be a fun guest. Yeah, I was thinking Oren. Oren would be a great person to invite. A lot of people would like to meet him, as I really wanted to as well. Probably TJ too, Alan, maybe Ty Randall. Just a couple ideas. My Shire Farms' QuailCon. Might check out their approach before launching into it. Yeah, I mean, I figure basically would be hey, we're going to be doing stuff at the Roach Crossing property from 11 a.m. to question mark on these 2 dates. So if you fly into town, get a hotel, come out, do whatever, something like that. Come and spend the day. Come look at some bugs you want, set up ideas, discuss stuff, hang out with the dogs, whatever, something like that. Special guest Oren McGonigal. How long do you leave substrate in the microwave to sterilize it? So for the sawdust stuff, I've been doing 2 rounds of 7 minutes just so that I don't destroy the microwave. So I'll let it sit, let the motor or the whatever cool off for 10 minutes, then nuke it again. For leaves, usually less than that, add a little bit of moisture and about 5 to 6 minutes, depending on how many. And then for the more generalized substrate mix, I think I usually do 6 to 8 too. So it's an involved process, as many of these things are, which is also why when I move, as soon as I can afford it, I'll get that autoclave, and I can just do big batches of stuff, and it will be not a microwave and not this rigged setup. So, only 27 minutes have passed. Jeez. I haven't really eaten much today either. That's another thing. I'm a wreck. Everything's a wreck. I'm working so hard, and it's like a bunch of sand slipping through my fingers. With this needs to be done, get that done, go do something else, do this. Oh wait, the first thing I did needs to be done again. So, but faster than 2 hours in an oven. Yeah, that's true. But if you do a big, huge batch like in an autoclave, that's good. You can get a whole bunch of it done all at once. Multiple ovens, multiple autoclaves might end up being what I do one day for all this stuff. But fortunately, with the sawdust that I've got, my neighbor does a bunch of woodworking, and I told him, just dump it in your yard and I'll come and get it when it's a couple months aged. And I finally started doing it, and he's like, oh, thanks. I was just going to throw that stuff out. And I was like, let me give you a little bit of money for that too, So I've been blessed because everything I've been giving that walnut sawdust to just loves it. Like millipedes, it's by far, as of this moment, the best millipede substrate supplement for wood feeding species that I have found. Everything's doing so great. It feels really good. It's been a while since a lot of these millipedes were really cranking stuff out. I just moved a couple of those. For the love of God. Chainer Allen, what is the pink dragon millipede? I'm going to take a picture of it with my phone to stare at it every day or set an alarm so that I remember what the name is. Not Desmosites, the other one. The other pink dragon. What substrate says Circa? It's walnut sawdust. My neighbor does woodworking, and he has just mounds of sawdust set out. And I let it age 3-4 months, and I sterilize it, and then I use it, and everything loves it. It's great. Yeah, I can't remember who fermented. Yeah, it's just been Anthromorpha uncinata, Anthromorpha unicata. Let's see which one it is, what the proper spelling is. Is it uncinata? That's what it says on Millibase. Anthromorpha uncinata. Do you just shove it in a box, or do you? So walnut wood is good, and only hulls are bad. It's got a very mild juglanone smell to it, but again, it's been outside. Fungus has started to colonize it. All right, Antheromorpha uncinata. Need a better common name. What does uncinate mean? Uncinata meaning bearing hooks, huh? Maybe pink hook millipede. Pink hooked millipede would be a good common name, so I stop this insanity. Pink hooked millipede. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't added anything to it, and stuff's loving it. They're basically red, not pink, though aren't they sometimes orange? They were definitively pink, the ones that I received. That's why I got them in the first place. Again, one of the vendors at the local show had them, and I thought, if I could trade them and they'll give me these and trade for some isopods, I'd like to just see if I can do anything with them. And that was a good choice because I did. Actually, stay tuned. I might put some up at the next auction. I don't have they're doing fine. I have no doubt that they're going to establish, but I haven't gotten an F2 out of them yet. But the captive bred babies are almost adult size now, so I don't think anything's going to go wrong. But I split the colony today just in case, too. But the ones I got, they were definitely pink. They're definitely more pink than Desmosites, which I think maybe deserves the name of purple dragon millipede better, but common names. So, let's see. I've been chatting with people in Germany, says John Doe, doing very well with them. Can't wait for yours to be ready. And I regret not getting the black and yellow ones. Was not Orthomorpha subcartii. It was another Orthomorpha species. It had better contrast than subcartii. But if I see those up for grabs again, I will get a group of them because Orthomorpha have been very easy. Please, they are so much cooler than Desmosites, in my opinion, says Chain. I like Desmosites, so I won't complain about Desmosites. And yet another derailment from the conversation topic. Was it Orthodomorpha or something that's introduced to Florida at a spot where we have collected a lot of Helicorthomorpha. And I have somebody who's looking for them, but they're a hairy millipede, and they're black and yellow, and I don't know how big they are, but I'm hoping that my contact will be able to get them because that'd be pretty neat. Keep adding these flats that are easy is nice. Double Z says, what kind of setup do you have your Percelios succinctus in? Just a 5.5 gallon with a bunch of bark piled up, and I kind of toss more organic matter in the back, so it kind of covers up the back bark and makes it kind of like a little cave at the back. Not too dedicated to keeping that structurally sound because when I go in to pick them out for orders and whatnot, I just flip all the bark and just kind of try to tuck it back in pretty well. But again, with this permaculture and all this other stuff, it's having bark on hand, having mulch on hand, having all these fresh ingredients to try with stuff is nice. Gosh, I wish I got those black and yellow Orthomorpha. Now I kind of wish I got whenever they brought in those jade banded millipedes and all this stuff, just because of how successful stuff is going. It would have been so much of a surefire to get those breeding because I don't think many people are put in the right kind of effort. But yeah, plans for the future. Geez, my friend has some yellow Orthomorpha. Yeah, I don't know if they're tiny, they're coarctata. If they're large, they're subcartii, or they're this other black and yellow one, which is mid-size, which I really want now. What else is doing well? What else can I tie into all this? I think I don't think I'll ever be 100% permaculture in terms of roach crossing. I've given up on that fantasy, being able to grow my own apples and all that stuff. It's done at such a scale, especially in Michigan. It's a waste of space to grow something like that when it's like the fall crop here, other than corn and soy, is apples. They're everywhere. So why would I devote some space and, oh, this one's got the blight, or oh, this one's got apple cankerworm, I got to spray the tree, when I could be growing other stuff that I can't get reliably, or that I like to have fresh continuously, like a lot of greens, um, shoot vegetables, root vegetables, fancy potatoes, achira, stuff like that. Kyle, don't touch the cord, please. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, I just keep grabbing the probiotic soda thing. Prebiotic, sorry, not probiotic, prebiotic. I suppose I should mention tomorrow is, I don't know if she'd like her name mentioned, probably not, but is a person who's been working with bugs for a while and just has a natural knack. One of those people who just has a knack, I will say. I'm one of those people, with at least for sure with roaches, where you just kind of, you know what to do. You had some experience. You kind of look at the roach and you take care of them. You say, oh, they like this. I should be doing more of this or whatever. So she's been breeding a gigas. I got her a group 2016 or 2017. So she's been breeding gigas for a while. Rhino roaches, Damon diadema, some stick bugs, Pachnota, just a big slew of all kinds of bugs she's had a knack with, and I'm meeting up with her tomorrow to get some supplies and stuff, and some of her colonies she's cutting and whatnot, because her partner has cancer, and that's been taking up the bulk of her time, is chemo, and I mean, it's freaking cancer. So that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. It's going to be a bit of a long drive, but I have some supplies that she'd like, and she's got all these bugs she wants to give me, so it should be pleasant. Pleasant yearly meeting. So, boy, only 36 minutes in. Perhaps some questions about some things, questions about future plans, etc. I guess I could go into my not so far-fetched plan of guinea pigs as aisleway clearers in the new garden. It's I've seen some videos of guinea pigs jumping. I've had some discussions with people about how high they can jump. Currently, mine they have the option to jump up about over a foot, and where I would, I'd think that I'd see droppings up there if they were hopping up there, but frankly, they're doing just fine without going up in the enclosure where that option is. So I have a feeling like I'll be able to do this guinea pig aisleway clearing strategy by using foot tall elevated beds, and letting the guinea pigs manage the aisleways of tall vegetation. If there's something that gets extremely tall, I can trample it. They'll come over and eat it for this garden setup. And I'm looking forward to see how this works. I had considered using rabbits, but I think that they have more hopping ability because they're rabbits. So hoping that that'll work out. Two birds with one stone, clear aisleways, fertilizing the aisleways. There surely some plants will have roots that will be growing out of their foot tall elevated beds that will be permeable at the bottom. So all this soil nutrient cycling stuff should, your roots should be able to access the nutrients. Maybe not the first year, but 5 years later, it'll be worked back in. And if there's too much of an accumulation of organic matter around the beds, I can always pop the frames out, readjust them to be level, or I can just keep leveling up the beds and making them taller. That's kind of a very long-term solution, but we'll see. Laura Taylor says good vibes to them both. A nasty, horrible cancer. Yeah, it's what they say, if the cancer doesn't kill you, the chemo will. So Chain comments that the agriculture has created many islands of isolated woodlands and other ecosystems. What arthropod clades do you think are least affected by this, and do you think it may exaggerate genetic drift? Top of the list is millipedes. I went to a woodlot that was exact like the epitome of this. It was an old woodlot that I think, what did Mike say? Maybe it's logged every 50 to 100 years. Maybe. I don't know if he was just talking, blown off steam or something. But it was an old woodlot that had probably been clear cut, but not all the way, or just maybe the valuable timber cut out because there's still good stuff in there. Cutleaf toothwort, trilliums, things that don't usually scream heavily disturbed habitat, inhabitant, Dutchman's breeches, stuff like that. And going through there in the spring, seeing all the lovely spring ephemerals was nice. Going back out in the warm season and hoping to find some bugs was not so nice. You had your basic introduced isopods. I'm sure the woods still supported stag beetles. I would also say this area was maybe about 5 to 10 acres, the whole woodlot, and surrounded on every side by corn or wheat. I don't know if they alternate soy in the cornfields, but for sure corn and wheat. And it is very weird walking through the wheat field and going into this woodlot and just seeing all this intact stuff. Very few invasives in this area too. Very few invasives. And then walking out the other side back into the cornfield, it's very weird to go through and experience that. I think that might have been last year, maybe the year before, but it was whenever they were harvesting, I think the spring wheat or something. Maybe it was probably July, August. And the woods were pretty empty. Then all the spring ephemerals were gone. There weren't too many interesting summertime growing plants. Pretty quiet. Not a lot of bird song. I know it kind of dies down by midsummer-ish, but still kind of suspiciously quiet. Not a lot of insect life either, but I've been into old woodlots like that too, that are in nature preserves and whatnot in Michigan, and you think, oh, this is the perfect habitat for all kinds of stuff, and you go into these really old forest, beech maple, climax stuff, and they're just kind of barren. The thing with spaces like that, I guess maybe more so in the Midwest or glacial areas, I don't know how much it applies to other places, but you get a high degree of endemism. You'll have some like specialist plants like beech drops or maybe some invertebrates that like that kind of habitat. The heavy shade in the summer, maybe a lot of big diameter rotting wood that's very specific stage of rot, like Dorcas species, North American Dorcas species. But yeah, you would think the pristine habitat is kind of going to have a lot of good stuff, but it's kind of the opposite. There's a lot of specialist endemism, but not much generalist. And usually in a lot of places, it's the disturbed habitats that have the best blend of different things, because you got all these niches, they're changing, there's interactions and all these things. So in the case of these islands of isolated woodlands, it is very interesting. It is conceivable that over time each could host its own species. And of course we see this with millipedes, not necessarily by this isolating thing, although they are very good candidates for that. But they already speciate and subspeciate, and color forms deviate astonishingly, even without this isolated woodland effect thing going on. So basically anything that can't fly, anything that's not inclined to move between these patches is going to be the most vulnerable. Zen Monkey says red cedar is the bestest for permaculture. It's hard to find in grocery stores. I'm not sure how joking that was, but I am planning on planting some red cedars for privacy screening at the front of the property. The only thing is, I don't know if the deer are going to take a liking to them, because in my neighborhood, the deer do not touch red cedar. And I think that's because all the red cedar here is in good sun. It's probably putting out its full phytochemicals, and it's prickly, and it's all that stuff. But supposedly deer are quite fond of cedar, maybe white cedar for sure. In other places, you see people planting these arborvitaes, white cedar cultivars or whatever, and they're like, if they live near a woodlot where deer pass through, they're like completely grazed up to just barren nothing up to like the deer grazing height. It's funny. We'll see people trying to hide like a, I don't know, a power transformer or something in their front yard, and they'll put the arborvitaes around it, and then, they won't water them, so they'll lose half of them, and then the deer will come in and graze the lower one. You're like, wow, that's like $3,000 or $4,000 you just dumped down the drain right there. But anyways, yeah, red cedar I do plan on using. I need a good plant of it for my megaphasma, since that's the host I'm using for them. So they need a good, reliable source of red cedar. And of course, again, it's a very fast growing evergreen in Michigan, which is kind of a magical combo. It's good for the habitat type I'm moving into: dry, sandy soil, full sun. Provide some good shelter for bluebirds as they are foraging, etc. I like red cedars. I'm a big fan of red cedars. Angela likes red cedars too. Well, of course, they are supposedly kind of flammable, but it's not going to be up next to the house and stuff like that. So, but yeah, more permaculture stuff. I mean, there's roses. Roses is a host plant for stick bugs. Katydids, rose hips for vitamin C for yourself. The flowers for the looks. I'm gonna start hunting down some good, weedy, non-invasive roses. All the best plants are flammable. You know what's a best plant I haven't seen for sale in a while, and I haven't had a desire to have in a while because it's a pain to get established, is gas plant. I think it's Dictamnus fraxinella or something. It's been at least 5 years. Been at least 6 or 7 years since I've had a good chunk of thought about that plant. But it's supposed to be so flammable that if you light a flame next to it on a hot summer day, there's so many vapors coming off of it that it will ignite. The green growth will just ignite, and I thought that was really cool. Tried growing it a couple times, but it seems to want really good drainage. It doesn't like being transplanted. It needs bright baking sun. So thinking about it in the future, it's not really readily available. But yeah, that's a plant. One of those things when I first got into plants, I thought, wow, sounds so cool. I wonder why I've never seen it before. Now I know why I've never seen it before. So, there's some other cool plants that work into all this stuff. What else have I been using? Walnut. I'm probably not gonna grow walnut. I'll probably always go out and find a random walnut tree growing somewhere else to use for things. There aren't any cool plants, says JP. Do not use walnut. I was thinking I've got these Chrysina woodeye, which I need to check for larvae pretty soon. I think they're laying, which is good. This would be an F2 of, the offspring of the first wild caught. That's the F1. These are those grown up producing the F2. Getting to an F2 of Chrysina woodeye would be very nice, I feel. I still have a hit out for Chrysina gloriosa, Chrysina bayeri this year. I'm starting to lose. We're getting kind of late in the season for those. So I don't know if I'm going to get more Chrysina species this year. Maybe this is a sign from the heavens that I should focus on the woodeye, but I probably won't grow any walnut for that. I got to figure out what I'm even going to grow if I want to keep any silk moths in the future. But from what I hear, sweet gum's a good general plant. It's not very commonly planted in Michigan, where it's hardy here, but it's not a weed. It's hardy. It's not really heavily sought after. Um, so I don't know, but it seems like it's one of the best plants that you can just use for pretty much any silk moth rearing. Everything from cecropias to hickory hornbills supposedly do really well in sweet gum. I can second that. I raised 2 species of hornbills on sweet gum, and they did extremely well. It's just, if it's not a common tree, I'm going to have to coppice some, and it's maybe a little slow to establish. Blah, blah, blah. We'll see what happens. Mosses are cool, says Chain. Permabog. I do love mosses. I don't know if I'll ever devote a big space to them, but I will say something I found for growing moss reliably and without other stuff intruding was, maybe I talked about this before, there's the these Envirolock bags that are some sort of durable felt something product. I used them with a shore project when I worked at creating sustainable landscapes. And if you fill them with just sand, not anything too rich, just sand, and you soak them, you let them sit outside, etc., moss will colonize them because vascular plants, there's not enough opportunity for them to root. The sand holds the moisture pretty well. And I guess that EnviroFelt or whatever is a good texture, good for them getting there. Or if they don't have rhizomes, what do they have again? They have like rhizophores or something like that. So anyway, so that's good if you need to farm moss. There's thoughts that it's a great food for a lot of pill millipedes. I go back and forth on that. I'd like to stop failing with them. We'll get it eventually. We'll figure it out eventually. I'm just happy we got good flats going now. But anyway, so anybody out there who wants to propagate moss, it's I don't know what species of moss it is. It grew a couple of them actually. So, but if you need to propagate moss for some bugs you want to keep, there's my tried and true method: the felt sandbag, the Envirolock bags. What's the material again? I'm writing this down. Says Chain. Envirolock. Fill it with sand. I don't think it matters if it's play sand or not, and just use that. JP says you can go swimming in bogs in Estonia. Replicate that on your property. What about liverwort? I had some liverwort growing in a pot out front for a period of time. There's that one super common weedy one that greenhouses get all over the place. And it did well for about a year, and then it just died. And I couldn't figure out why. I didn't change the soil. Nothing grew up to outcompete it. It didn't dry out. The only thing I can think of is that species might be a heavy feeder on nutrients, which would be why it's a pest in greenhouses where they have that constant watering, well draining soil mixture, etc., probably fertilizing. So maybe it burned itself out. It didn't have whatever nutrient high ratio, and that's why it did not succeed. But come to think of it, I wonder what would happen if you grew one of those Envirolock bags in if you submerge it or soaked it in a heavy duty fertilizer. If you would just make this monstrous moss, maybe. Oh crap! I collected a moss in Tennessee. I still have it. I should probably take good care of it. I put it on just the powderized lime stuff, just the garden lime. Maybe like half of an inch of it, and I put it in a little deli cup, and I put it under strong light, and I had a solid lid. I didn't try to. I was just if this works, this works. If it doesn't, doesn't. And it did really well. It did really, really well. That's still alive. I could get it going more again at any time, and just probably going to convert that rack into more roach rearing space, honestly, before I move. But I wonder, yeah, soaking in a Envirolock bag full of sand in like a strong fertilizer solution, if that would let you just make this like ungodly, unkillable, constantly generating moss, which would be cool. John Doe says, if you listen to me, I'll at least get your Rhopalomerus carnifex to pop babies, I promise. Yeah, that's so easy for a lot of millipedes, but it's like getting beyond that is the tricky part. I want to try Pachydermis again. Now that I know that the babies will like lose their grip on on the bottom of the glass surface and unable to walk and will just starve or die. I want to try them again in a 10-gallon and just keep layering up leaves every time I do husbandry on them, and just keep doing it that way and see how that gets me. Again, some of this stuff though, it's like these old world flat millipedes or things that are like Euryuridae, they don't make a poop chamber. This is the big problem, and probably a problem with pill millipedes now that I think about it. Maybe I should listen to myself. Tying back in with the permaculture stuff and having all this leaf litter on hand, you gotta. It's not like you're choosing between having leaves for your beds and having leaves for your millipedes. You can just again take the millipede substrate, sterilize it, and it's broken down even better to be put out in your garden. But the problem is the poo molting chambers is the problem. These old world species and Euryuridae don't seem to do this. They don't make a poo chamber. And the poo chamber is probably the most important part of these New World millipedes' life cycle in terms of what you have to plan for in captivity, because they don't always, or maybe they don't even completely seal it off. They make it like 3/4 of the way and then they just sit in it like a cup. It's a lot of 3D space. They don't seem to like making them touching other millipedes' poo cups. They seem to be very particular about the humidity when they're making the poo cup. And so it may end up being the case that many of these flat millipedes are very easy to breed, like the Sigmorias and the Aphalorias and the Pachydermis, etc. But the poo cup is the problem, is accommodating the poo cup, because unlike spirobolids and similar millipedes that will just make a little space around themselves, molt, and then go about their day, the poo cup is a complex three-dimensional structure that has to be moist and not too moist and not too dry at the same time. So I think that's a problem that needs to be solved, and the answer may just be more space, which would be nice and also not so nice, because how do you pitch raising something to somebody unless they just want to raise a couple of them? But getting a colony going might be a space-intensive process, which is why it was nice that these Anthromorpha uncinata don't do any of this stuff. They just kind of grow as a Desmosites or even an Oxidus would. They just seem to make a makeshift cell and go from there, not a whole poo chamber, which sucks, in my humble opinion. It may serve a purpose, like maybe it's designed to keep a specific type of predator out, and that's why they evolved it, but in captivity, it seems a bit annoying. Circus says, doesn't moss get like fertilizer burned? I don't know. Maybe they won't. Maybe they can adapt to a higher nutrient level. I don't know. Shane says, I usually grow my moss on sand in 16-ounce delis. Not all moss is the same for sure, although clay and brown rot would have worked for some other outliers for me. You have to be careful fertilizing moss. Also, too much phosphate, you'll get more algae than moss, which might be fine for millipede purpose. This is ending up being the millipede live stream, the intersectional millipede live stream. How are your ornameras doing? I have not checked on them since the last time I did husbandry in here. The Auburn ones have probably died out in the little cup that they were in, but some of the other species that I got in might be doing anomerous, or the related was the other anomerous that's not anomerous. Might be doing all right. I got to check those. I'm doing husbandry in here next week, I think. So, but I do have to check on that. What's the humidity? 62%. Okay. So we'll see how that goes. Just testing the waters with all this pill millipedes and stuff like that. Again, it's just trial and error with some of these things. I'm on like an F3 or F4 of the Auburn Uriuridae. I think I found they weren't Uriurus; they were that other genus, Auturus. And I killed the main colony, and I thought I had them set up perfect. And then I did this. I split off some to save them last minute. I was like, oh crap, I got to save these things, and they're doing great. I was about to pitch the container because I was like, oh, nothing's going on in here. I need to clear some stuff out. And I went to dump it out, and a bunch of baby Arcturus fell out. I was like, okay. So that's happening is you just kind of fall backwards into success sometimes, and you got to just fumble around and find out what you did right to get good results, and then just keep doing it and be very religious about it. John Doe says, everyone said my setup was too large. Yeah, I don't know if you can have too large of a setup with pill millipedes and some other stuff, but put it on the docket of things to figure out. I've got plenty of life left in me to do that. Let's see, anything else permaculture wise. See, what am I looking forward to most? I was really liking lovage this year. Everything's either from the weird weather or from lack of a consistent water schedule, because a lot of my stuff is in pots and out in the yard. A lot of stuff starting to look kind of tired and haggard lately, so I'm not a fan of that. Wonder how that will factor into things in the future with the permaculture. Tomatoes are kicking off. I got cucamelons I gotta harvest. I think I gotta harvest them. I've eaten a couple of them. They tasted a little unripe, so maybe I need to just let them get a little bit more plump and ripe on the vine. Excited about the Tuna sinensis, the beef and onions plant. I'm excited for the potential there for kind of stir fry greens constantly. I like that. Just getting more into shoot and leaf vegetables. It's easier to fertilize those things with bug droppings as well. I feel a lot of those things do like just a richer soil base, holding a lot of moisture. With bug substrates do tend to hold a lot of moisture, and then worms will run through them outdoors. They'll really get the nice aeration going on through there. So it's just a really good, just makes kind of like the perfect gardening medium over time. I'm just missing that sun. That sun has always been a big part of the equation that was missing here. So we'll see. Thoughts on the best minimalist permaculture for a beginner to start with? Geez, coming out swinging there. Minimalist permaculture? As if those two ideas were not mutually exclusive. It's very, very, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't want to call you a plebeian, but geez, that's a lot. What do you do there? You could, I thought about doing this, instead of buying quail feed, which is expensive compared to other feeds, quail crumble, buying the cheap dog food and raising mealworms or Neatus tenebrioides on the dog food, and then using the larvae / pupae, which will be of higher nutritional value, to feed the quails. You can always supplement with something else along the way. So in this system, you have the dog food, etc. You can easily mass produce Neatus if you got cooler temperatures, or Tenebrio if you got warmer temperatures and really want the easiest harvest methods. And then you just have your quail cage, and you can just kind of move handfuls of mealworms or Neatus every couple days or whatever the quail cage. I don't think Neatus or Tenebrial larvae are high in protein. I think that they are higher in fats, actually. But you could always just use you can always use another food like a millet or something for the quail too, to give them something other than that stuff. William, yes, he sent you a DM Discord about his school car. I'll have to get to that in a bit. So that is just kind of playing around with that idea, and then of course the quails. You do a wire cage. You have them pooping in one spot. You have the droppings that you can then directly process into something. You can use them to fertilize heavy feeders like raspberries or taro or something like that. You could have a scrape away to another area where you are like on ground raising like armadillidium or something to eat the poop, and then you could use the armadillidium for the calcium source for the quails. It's there's a lot of moving parts here. Everyone has to start somewhere. One of those big hurdles is you need to know everything up front. Yeah, that's very true, Chris. I think over 28% protein will give gout-ish, and there's chick feed with more protein. Actually, 28 is for like meat birds. Let me check. I'm pretty sure the game bird crumble I have is over 28% protein. That's what I've been using for the quails. I have not had any problems feeding them just that, the Coturnics, the golden Manchurians, which I am expecting a hatch from tonight, or rather tomorrow morning, along with more Florida chickens. I'm hoping now that there's been a little bit more direct inbreeding, like father to daughter style inbreeding, that I'll start getting some of the cooler colorations that we saw pop up in the Keys, like the white birds with the black speckles all over, or the silver, the kind of, what do they call this? Silver wheaten, or maybe it's blue wheaten. I think I remember seeing. I'm hoping that we can kind of unlock some of those other things. I'd like to keep as much phenotypic diversity in these as possible. 25% higher for game birds, incisive quail, says Zen Monkey. I'm pretty sure this game bird crumble I have is between 29 and 35% protein. Pretty sure. But this ties back to something. While I was in high school, I had a friend who was very into birds, and here's Kyle. Kyle's doing his bug stuff. Kyle's making money. He's got a hobby. He's got all this stuff going on. So I was trying to get some of my friends to kind of pursue their vague interests. And my one friend did crested geckos for a long time. The other friend kind of had some crested geckos. Living things were not really his thing. And then this other friend really liked birds, so try to get him into some birds. So he got some birds, etc. So he liked cutthroat finches. So he got some cutthroat finches, and we set him up. And again, he had no prior bird keeping experience, zero bird keeping experience. Just change the food, change the tray, keep the water fresh, etc. And so we'd seen at the time that cutthroats were kind of a more difficult bird to raise. A lot of finch fanciers were saying that cutthroats were very difficult to get eggs from, difficult to raise chicks from, difficult to get the chicks to fledge from, all this stuff. Difficult. I haven't had success. I worked with them for 5 years and I never got anything until the male died or whatever. So again, here's my friend who's like a sophomore in high school, with these cutthroat finches, and I was just like, hey, you could just feed them some live mealworms. I breed tons of mealworms. You could give them mealworms, live food, all that stuff. And what do you know? He was supplying them with mealworms. I think he even had a container of mealworms breeding in his little bird room. And he got chicks. And one of them, something happened, he was cleaning, or the cleaning woman or something came in, and she nudged the cage, and the baby fell out of the nest, and it splattered on the floor. Something disgusting like that bad happened to one of the 2 chicks that he got. But the other chick was fine. He raised the thing to adulthood and everything. No problem. So here, this sophomore in high school, just by offering live food, which I think was probably the part of it, just giving live food, instead of everybody's like, oh yes, my finches, they need you need a seed pellet mix, and I prefer to do, you want about 10% golden flax and 25% red millet, but only organic red millet. They spray DDT on the other types of millet, and a little bit of safflower, but make sure that it's organic safflower as well. And then you want to make sure the crushed oyster grit mixed in, but only at the bottom, and make sure you do this twice a week. So you got all these pinheads saying all this stuff about breeding cutthroat finches, and here this sophomore student in high school with absolutely no bird experience was able to do it on his first try in a dank room in Michigan. Pretty sure it was a north-facing room in Michigan, just by offering mealworms as a substantial part of the diet. So anyways, that's my rant on that. That was a good one. We got that out today on this. 30% for gout, says Circa. Zen Monkey says chickens typically do best with a 16 to 20%. I've been raising the chicks that I produce. I start them on Game Crumble, that extra protein, and I haven't had any issues doing that. I figure Galliformes, they probably would like that protein. They're developing quickly, you know. Circa says some people say that if you feed them 30% for their entire lives, long term they will develop gout later in life or something. That sounds kind of weird. I don't know. All the Florida chickens I have raised up past a year have been healthy except for one. There is one that does the goose step. There's one rooster that does goose stepping. And, you know, I think part of it might have been neurological, behavioral, because once I got rid of 2 of the other lackey roosters, I had this whole cohort of the femboy roosters from the ones that I hatched last year. And those 2 now get to be the alpha giga chads because they went to Zen Monkey. I kept the one goose walking one. I'm like, oh, I'll butcher that one today, and I keep putting it off, but he's not causing any problems, so why would I? Anyways, that's the only one that I've raised that's had any sort of health issue whatsoever, and I'd be more inclined to blame it on inbreeding, if anything, than improper diet. But now again, since those other 2 left, the goose stepping has died down substantially, so I almost wonder if there were some psychological phenomenon from there being so many roosters and 2 other young roosters that it was living very neurotically or nervously, and that kind of flared up something. So I don't know. I will be raising this next batch of Florida chickens on Game Bird Crumble 2. I do try to get them as soon as I think that they can be taken off of heat. I try to get them in one of the rearing pens outside, and then it's like, oh, they got scratch, whatever's the dirt, the tons of bugs. There's tons of armadillium and worms. There's all kinds of things that they can hunt for when they're in the pen. So Zen Monkey says, I typically feed my birds whatever I happen to have on hand. Sometimes it's 27%, sometimes 15%. Too much protein can be hard on kidneys over time, but that's often with meat chicken. Something about meat birds being maybe it's just meat birds butchered in literally 2 months. So they say something about the gamer bird feed not being formulated for long life. Again, this is Game Bird Crumble, which I believe is formulated for more stuff like pheasants that seem to like more protein or need it. But again, it's been working well with the Coturnix. And actually, when I gave them some layer crumble or layer pellets and also some chick razor, and they stopped laying eggs for a bit. So my Coturnix are definitely already getting past the average life of a Coturnix in captivity so far, at 1 year and 2 months for a couple of them. They're getting to be old hags at this point. I would assume they should have been butchered a while ago. Eric Matthews says, "Is this still live?" Yes, it is. We are. This is an extra long live stream at the behest of Chris Snyder, who won it at the last Bugapalooza, one of two that Chris Snyder won. So I'm on the hook for another 16 minutes trying to talk about permaculture stuff. And we're finally on a good topic. We're finally a good pertinent topic after all this time. So, yeah. So that's my experience with the crumbles and all that stuff. I think here's where I want to go in the future with the future farming endeavors. Once, the dogs, everybody's all living happily together and singing Kumbaya, I want to be able to pretty much just dump a boatload of whatever on the ground in part of the pasture and have that be the food for all the poultry for that day. Dog food, cat food, layer crumble, whatever, with the idea being that they have all this space, they can get scratched, they're going to be eating little bits of plants, and there's going to be bugs, and there's going to be more grit that they can find and will help them grind up their food better. And they're going to be moving around a lot, and good sun and good water and all this stuff, to the point that I can basically just throw anything down there and it will just get us to the next day, whatever it may be, as far as poultry goes. And, the poultry have been pretty consistently one of the best things, other than roaches, of course, for just cleaning up stuff, household scraps. It's a great way for me to turn them into more food, into eggs. And for stuff that the poultry won't eat, I have the goats, but they're really in a whole other category on their own. But the rabbits and guinea pigs, stuff that rabbits will eat, guinea pigs aren't fond of, and stuff that guinea pigs won't eat, rabbits are fond of. Banana peels. Sometimes, unless you have a huge roach colony, they won't necessarily eat through a whole peel. The outer parts are too bitter. But rabbits love banana peels. It's one of their favorite little extra snacks. It's high fiber. It's got just enough sugar to get them eating it. So all my banana peels go to the rabbits, and any other sort of fruity messes of stuff. If it's got more of a rind to it, if it's not going to the roaches, if it's not going to the poultry, it's going to the rabbits, the guinea pigs. And guinea pigs will eat plants that rabbits don't like. They'll eat American germander, which rabbits and goats don't like. So there's something. Circa, my quail setup is a wire bottom cage, about 3 feet by 3 feet or something like that, with a big waterer, thing for feed, and then a big bowl in the corner for fresh sand, because coturnix love sand. I think I've noticed that they're so much less flighty and seem to be in just better spirits with the sand there. They really like dust bathing. They're probably eating little stones and stuff out of there to help with digestion. So ever since I put the little sand thing in there, the coturnix have been very happy. Definitely vital for keeping the birds as happy as possible, I would say. And it's very minimum. I mean, I have infinite sand. I just dump it out if it gets kind of soiled or wet. Zen Monkey says coturnix can be sensitive to calcium in regards to egg laying. Effective egg laying lifespan for coturnix is probably between about 2 months old to about 12 months or a bit more. Yeah, so I've got some old hags now. So I'm really hoping this next batch of eggs hatches, and then I gotta just cling to them and hopefully get them to a good size, because I really want to try eating coturnix, but I got to make sure that I don't lose this line first of all. So I got to just hold on to whatever until everything's absolutely certain across the board. You can get them a few hides. Yeah, I probably do that. I've got some wood halves and boxes I could put in there for now. I do want to, the end game for the coturnix is probably a big hutch style thing. It might be kept in the barn in the future. wire floor for easy cleaning. It's just so good with them and gives me fresh poop that I can use for stuff. But probably maintain, I don't know, 20 to 40 Coternics, 20 to 50 of these golden Manchurians, and in this big jumbo wire bottom cage that will probably be something like 6 feet to 8 feet by 3 feet to 4 feet. Just a big, lots of space. I know people, you can keep them, the battery setups in there. If there's any poultry you're going to keep in a style like that that's going to be more okay with it, I think it would be Coternics versus chickens, which is your other option, basically. But I'd like them to have that space. I'd like them to have that space. But I'm not going to be so philanthropic as to make it a huge Disney World of stuff. I will be inclined to give them dust bathing area. It seems very important. Are those the Italians? They are the golden Manchurians that are, as I was told, this line is not very common of these. It's not the males of this line, and the females are vastly different coloration. The males get the like the dark red brown head and front breast, and then the sort of rusty brown rest of the feather color, and then the females are like the light yellow with the black. So dimorphic. Sean Woods has huge quail set up on his YouTube channel. Maybe I'll check that out. Again, they're food. They're food. I would like them to live an okay to good life. I'm not going to go over the top. The other birds, all the other poultry that gets free range is going to be living the high life, but I don't feel a strong moral imperative to go above and beyond for the Coternics, but I think that this will be better than the majority of the way people keep them. So, and I suppose maybe I should have this enclosure on a slant so when they lay eggs, they roll, but I don't know if that would make things a little bit more uncomfortable for them or something like that. I don't know. There are some cool quail genetic charts maybe. I don't feel compelled to keep other strains of Coternics. Maybe the jumbos I'd fall in love with, and I'd try to make a jumbo golden Manchurian one day. That's like a couple years from now if I get bored or if I get the voices in my head telling me to do something else. For now, I'm content with just keeping this line going. I think they're very cool. The males are very beautiful. And I don't have a chance to get this line again if I lose them, is the other thing. So hold on to that. But fresh poop, divine isopod food. They love it. It's like something like after poop is about 2 hours out the back end, it's like at its peak attractiveness to isopods. It's something like that. So if you're having trouble starting isopods or something like that, or millipedes, or just about anything, like fresh bird poop is one of the best things you can give them. It's got to just have the perfect ratios of everything. And I bet that if one were to feed a colony of isopods nothing but fresh quail poop or something, you would have one of the healthiest isopod colonies that anybody's ever had. That is a good option to have on hand for starting and working with tricky species and stuff like that. So that's on the docket. I'm trying to limit myself to how many chicken breeds I'm going to work with too. As far as permaculture goes, again, I would be afraid of all the ammonia and acidity, says Circa. Yeah, that's why I said it's like something like 2 hours afterwards, like the bacterial activity has surged and makes it very appealing to stuff. So, actually, now that I think about it, when I had Archiblatta, like 2018, when I had Archiblatta and I got them in for the first time from some guy in Texas who had clearly smuggled them and had no idea what he was doing or what they really were, or knew what they were worth, didn't know what they were. I fed them fresh chicken poop, was like one of the staples of things I gave them to try and stabilize them because a lot of them were in really rough shape. and it worked. It worked really well for stabilizing archaeblata. So just something to keep in mind in the future. But yeah, other chicken projects. The Floridas will be my wild birds. I think will be my wild poultry. Um, I also like I got some Pavlovskayas. I would like to shape these into the way they looked in the old Russian diagrams. I think a couple of friends of mine, Dan Greiner and K Fidua, kind of got excited about them together. Dan went all in and got a bunch of starting stock and he hasn't really stewarded it in the right phenotype direction. So I got some eggs from him. We got about 5 birds that show they're very promising. All of them are slightly imperfect, but we'll get them. We'll work on that. I think the cockerel is really good. The cockerel's pretty much on point to the standard, but put the best cockerel over whatever hens you got, and you kind of go off of that. Zen Monkey says, don't do more than 30 chicken breeds, so way fewer than how many roach colonies you have. It's a lot more space. But the Pavs and the Florida chickens will probably be a mixed flock, just the mixed barnyard flock, and then I will isolate in pens to get desired characteristics and then do group calls and stuff from there. So it'll be a lot easier to manage than it seems like. So there's 2. I have a Seabright Brahma cross. I really like how this bird looks, and I think I could do something with that. If I could get this phenotype isolated, I think it would be really nice. So I think that would be my pet project for bird breeding, is to get this, and then of course it'll be a fun origin story. Of course, if the breed is started from a Brahma and a Seabright, you can barely get any different of a size difference in chickens than that. So she's a very pretty bird. So let's see, that's 3. I've talked with Chris about the Hawaiian chickens, which some places are offering. Kind of tempted, not 100% sure. I don't know. Because again, I have the Floridas, and I could focus on those. And then finally, Bantam white-faced black Spanish Bantams, which I received from a very good friend who's been working with some lines that were imported, I don't know, a decade ago or more recently than that, right from Spain. Very, very high quality standard size birds, and he has been working tirelessly to get those beautiful red scrotum faces from the full size import lines down into the Bantams, and has made some good progress. So I think that will be a great bird for me to contribute to as well. I love this. I love the scrotum faces so much. Very beautiful birds. The white face, the red comb, the red wattles, the red everything, just so exuberant. And then the nice shiny black plumage. But the problem here is that these will not be a mixed flock bird. They're going to be way too small, not as hardy as the other birds. So this is probably going to be a cage style rearing project, and probably within the barn too. So we'll see where that goes. I'm excited to have very small scrotum faced birds. And how could I forget? And I'm only going to do so many chicken breeds. I love silkies. I do love silkies. So I almost forgot I have a cage full of silkies outside that are going to need to be culled next month for proper toe arrangements and whatnot. But I have a group of, I think, four good silky hens from a couple of years ago. I picked them for the right number of toes, the right toe arrangement, the right body conformity, the right face, whatever. They're certainly not going to win any poultry nationals or anything like that, but they're pretty birds, and I've got this other batch of chicks that I'm rearing up to get some good cockerels out of. And the main appeal to the silkies for me other than the fact that they're really cool, they've got the blue earlobes, etc., is they are an excellent electricity-free incubator. And I wonder if you mathed out the amount of energy required to run an incubator for a period of time versus the calories needed for a broody silkie. But from my experience this last summer, I would bet that the broody silkie beats out the incubator in terms of number of egg, like the energy investment for the number of eggs. I bet a broody silkie beats out pretty much any incubator. So that's why the silkies are staying around. I like them. They will probably be part of the mixed flock. They're doing well in the mixed flock currently. We'll see how the roosters do with the other breeds of roosters. But I don't intend to have a billion silkies, but probably about, I don't know, anywhere from 6 to a dozen, depending on feed costs and a bunch of other factors. But I do like them. Another one I would separate to breed for more purebred chicks and whatnot. And the other thing is, the source for these was, we're at an hour and a half. I think I can start wrapping it up now. The source for these was Ideal Poultry. I was very impressed with the silkies they sent me 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago, and that's why I ordered from them again. There's a lot of talk I've heard about people talking about how silkies are bantams, but most of them are actually standard size birds. I think Ideal Poultry was actually breeding for actual bantam silkies, because all of the silkies that I have they're smaller than the Florida chickens, and they're less than half the size of the one standard size bird that I have, the black Australorp. So that's why I was happy and I got more, is actually having bantam silkies and not large fowl that are just being called silkies but are not actually, I guess. Also, there are beautiful blue white-faced Spanish out there. Not sure how many are in the States, though. That seems like it wouldn't be too hard of a project to get the blue out of a black line. But I like the contrast. It's just amazing on these birds. Eric Matthews says, San Mateo, California Reptile Expo this weekend. What should I look for? Eric Matthews, one of the last things, I guess, before I finish the stream. There is a black and yellow millipede. It is not Orthomorpha coarctata, and it's not Orthomorpha subcartii. It's a flat that's been brought in from, I think, Thailand. It's Orthomorpha something, but it won't be labeled as that. It'll probably be called like black and yellow flat millipede. I'm desperately seeking those because I think they will be very easy to breed. So if you see this mid-size black and yellow flat millipede, and it's not obviously coarctata, which is very small. It's about the size of, basically the same size as Oxydus gracilis. It's like, I don't know, maximum 20 millimeters. And if it's not Orthomorpha subcartii, which is upwards of like 50 to 60 millimeters, if it's more in the mid-range of 30 to 40 millimeters, that's this other Orthomorpha species, and I would kill for those right now to try and work with. Zen Monkey mentioning that large fowl incubate more eggs at a time than bantams. But bantams, when you're not using them for incubation, eat less food. So I like that. I will probably never rely on a bantam to raise hordes of eggs. I would use my incubator for that. But let's say I get an itch and I want to incubate, I don't know, 15 eggs, which is what I think I did 15 eggs, what I gave to my silkie this summer. And it had 100% hatch rate. 100% hatch rate under a bantam silkie for Pavlovskaya eggs. So they were like pretty much full-size eggs. I was very happy with that. So Chain says the stream went so many directions. Loved it. You can thank everybody. You can thank Chris Snyder, Zen Monkey, for this special stream. It was at his behest that it sort of went the route that it did. And I guess we did find our way in the end. And we have another hour and a half stream for Mr. Zen Monkey at some point to be determined. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Hopefully I'll be in one piece next week. Hopefully we'll have a stream next week. Again, End of the Wiggle may be coming soon for a period of time, so we'll see. But anyways, thank you all for joining for this special stream. And I'll see you all next week, maybe. And until then, or beyond then, may your cultures ever be bountiful, everybody. Have a nice night.